I did an internet search for Untold Story. It's amazing how many books and movies that have that in the title. The Untold Story of UPS, Frozen, The Untold Story, and on and on and on. You realize these are oxymorons, right? Once they were made into books and movies, they ceased to be untold stories. But really, what's the benefit of an untold story? An ordinary life might become an extraordinary story, but we need to hear it, learn from it, be inspired by it. People need to hear your story. Maybe you won't tell it to huge crowds or turn it into a big screen production, but the people you rub elbows with every day need to know what you've gone through, how you faced it, how you're dealing with it now. They need to see the difference that God has made in your life so that they can discover that He can transform them too. This includes family, friends, neighbors, co-workers, even the occasional stranger. Several times in the book of Acts in the New Testament, Paul shared his extraordinary story of meeting Jesus. It was his go-to defense when standing trial for his faith. It told of his dramatic turnaround from being a legalistic religious zealot who wanted to stamp out Christianity to a tireless servant of Jesus who wanted as many people as possible to join him in following Christ. The story of God's work in your life might not seem as sensational, but it is no less important than Paul's. Our media director at Grace, Jessica Farley, is going to tell you now why she enjoys helping people tell their stories.
I grew up hearing stories. It was a really big part of my childhood. My grandmother, instead of watching TV sometimes or doing just about anything else, what we would want to hear is stories of her life. And what that actually helped us to do is to understand where we came from. A lot of it was the quality time that we had with her and the fact that even then you felt like you were being invested in, that these stories were important to her and so they held value with you. A lot of identity is found through those stories. I think that people don't understand the transformative power that telling their story or telling a story has on someone else. When you're able to hear something that's important to someone else, whether it's life change, whether it's something that they're celebrating, it doesn't matter what they're telling, it's something that's important to them, and it's something that's stood out to them in some way. And so there's a lot of connection in stories. There was a conversation that I had with a friend of mine. We were watching a lot of footage from a missions trip, and it wasn't the most technically correct footage. It was shaky, it was blurry at times, but being able to see this story through the pictures and the footage of a place that I had never gone before, it helps you to understand on a level that you wouldn't be able to understand if you just read a fact or if you just looked in a book or anything like that. Stories from people who have lived it and are able to personally attest to what change that it made in their life to be there. And so we came to the conclusion, if people can see things, if people can hear things, they can feel them. There's a disconnect sometimes between things that we hear and things that we feel, and a story adds that personal element into it where, like I said, it's not just facts, but it's something that's made an impact on someone. There's a lot of ways that stories can help people bond or stories can help people heal. There are definitely some stories that you get this feeling that need to be told to a broader audience. I recently got to sit with a lady who has terminal cancer and hear from her her feelings on the emotions that she went through when she first found out, and to be able to hear that whole story and how she's gone on this journey from finding out that she has cancer. One of the things that she mentioned just without any prompting is how she knows that other people will be in the same situation and how the stories of others have helped her, and her understanding that her story, no matter how difficult it may have been, or no matter the fear or the anxiety or anything that she's facing, knowing that the importance to her of that being told and being open about it, and just knowing that someone needs to hear that. Someone needs to hear that to get through what they're going through. The interesting thing about our mission being to help ordinary lives become extraordinary stories is that everybody feels ordinary at some point. even though you may not feel extraordinary, even though you may not think that what you're doing is extraordinary, being willing to share that story in and of itself is extraordinary. One of the things that I'm passionate about is not only being able to tell those stories, but to help people understand the purpose of them. And so I'd love to be able to help tell your story.
Your story is what you live, but telling it is for the benefit of others. I want to encourage you to begin looking for opportunities to share yours with those around you. You don't have to share your whole story with everyone, but look for the chance to share parts of it in relevant ways, depending on who it is you're talking to. Sharing your story will make a difference. If it means something to you, it'll mean something to somebody else. In your group, you're going to be talking about how you can begin to share your story, even if you haven't already started.